One more thing. The Dallas Mavericks start this new era of the organization with a completely different tone, centered around Cooper Flagg and you. Welcome. You're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years. It's a one more thing, bonus episode of Locked On Mavs. There's all episodes of Locked On Mavs at this point. If you missed the episode of Slightly and I breaking down the Mavs against the Spurs game last night, go listen to that one. If you missed the episode with Isaac and I breaking down the trade deadline, go listen to that one. We're going to talk about the Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi press conference that happened before the Mavs Spurs game. The complete change in tone around fans, around Cooper Flagg and everything. Building around Flagg, how they want to build around him going forward and flexibility. And they talk a little bit about the new players. So we want to talk about all those things and get into all that. But before we do, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, all kinds of things that you can use to get in on the action, where you can go check out stuff for Super Bowl 60. FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of the action with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. All kinds of great things on FanDuel for Super Bowl. Super Bowl props. You start going through them. You're like, all right, what do we got here? Seahawks special team to score a touchdown, plus 1,200. Patriots special teams to score a touchdown, plus 2,000. Interesting, the difference between those two. All kinds of different things you can do on FanDuel with Super Bowl 60. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same game parlay, this game's the one everyone's been waiting for. If you're a new customer, you can do this. You bet $5, and if you win, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. It's last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started, and that new deal is $5 on your first bet, and if you win, you get $200 in bonus bets. All right, I want to talk about Matt Riccardi, Michael Finley. They do a press conference. They get together, and it is interesting to see two guys do a press conference instead of just Nico Harrison there by himself. But that wasn't the only change that we saw. That there wasn't not one, but two guys sitting up there. The change in tone, I thought, was completely different after watching it. The change in the direction of the conversation, the change in the way that they spoke about certain things in this conversation. And to me, I think the biggest thing was just starting with the opening statement, which is obviously like the first thing that if you're a GM, or in this case, co-interim GMs, the first thing that comes out is, all right, you get this chance to, all right, come off right off the bat and give us what you think. Give us your thoughts or where you want this conversation to go. And they're starting the conversation of this new era of Mavs basketball. The Nico Harrison era is over. You still have, there's different eras. Obviously, you had the Dirk era, the Luke era. You can do it by players. But if you do it by front office, there's Donnie Nelson, then there's Nico Harrison, and now there's this. And so now we're trying to figure out what this is going to be about. And these guys may not even be the ones at the helm of this going forward, but they wanted to start this new tone by this. And Michael Finley said this in his opening statement. He said, "We wanted to bring back winning culture in Dallas, give the fans something to be excited about. He thinks that this trade puts us in the right direction, giving us a championship atmosphere." Matt Riccardi said this that I thought was incredibly refreshing. "We had to take an honest look at ourselves in the mirror. Sometimes the path is not straightforward, and you have to take a roundabout way to go where we want to go. Our goal is to win championships." The change in tone to you, the fan, and to you, like to Mavericks fans and to anybody that watches the team, is completely different than it was before. The tone when it was Nico Harrison and that trade and everything that happened there was, hey, you're not going to like this, but this is what it is. This is what it is. You're wrong and I'm right, and this is right. He did that. Nico did that over and over again on, well, we'll see if I'm right? Like that was what it was. Talked down. I thought he talked down to fans. I thought he was I thought he dismissed fans in a lot of ways. Obviously in the trade of Luka, dismissed fans and their feelings and everything. But in this one, this is a trade of Anthony Davis that some fans don't get. I've spoken to a lot of fans. The ones that listen to our show and have heard us talk about the reason they did this trade over and over again, they get it at this point. The ones that have not necessarily because our show is the reason, but the ones that have not may not understand that, hey, trading Anthony Davis, a 10-time All-Star, for the things that they got for Anthony Davis does not really make sense if you're not really locked into the salary cap and all that stuff. And you can totally be a fan and not know all those things. Our goal on this show is to try to make you smarter as a fan, understand why the team does certain things. That's what we've always tried to do on this. And for Matt Riccardi to say sometimes the path forward is not straightforward. You have to take a roundabout way to get where you want to go. And that's what this trade was. You're trading a really good player in Anthony Davis for some not good players and some draft picks that are not that great. to try a roundabout way to get to your goal, and your goal is to win championships. And I thought that was incredibly refreshing to hear that. And to not just hear, hey, we know what's best. The fans may not get it, but they'll get over it. You know, like that's kind of what the last tone was from Nico Harrison. And then later, Michael Finley was asked about fans, and I thought his answer was also pretty refreshing as well.
I think the fans is what it's all about. You know, when I played here, it was always an excitement about being a Mavericks fan. You know, you walk around the community. Although when I played here, we wasn't winning all that many games early, but the excitement was there. They saw what the future could look like if the guys continue to improve, and that's what happened. We're in a similar situation now. I think the fans are excited to have something to cheer about.
Something to cheer for.
Consistently. And when a guy like Lee put the right pieces around him, the fans can get back to that excitement. And that's one of my main focus, to bring that excitement back, because, you know, the Dallas fans deserve it. We have the best fans in the NBA, and I'm not just saying that because I'm here, because I witnessed it as a player, as an exec. They just want something to be excited about. So hopefully we can put that on the court and win some ball games.
And I know it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, of course he's going to say nice stuff about the fans. Of course he's going to do that. He was a player for the Mavericks, but he's right. Fans just want something to be excited about, something to be proud of and put on the court. And not just like, hey, if we get a title, they'll come back around, right? Like that was the tone of the former regime. And these guys were actually part of the former regime, if you think about it. And so the complete drastic change in tone around you, the fan, I thought was so different. And this is the way to go. It is about the fans. It's almost like an investor shareholder meeting, right? Like them coming together and being like, hey, this is why we did these things. This is why we made this decision. And will your stock in our franchise as a fan, and it's emotional time stock, it's whatever you want to call it. They're saying, hey, we're going to try to make it worth your time. So I thought that was incredible. I thought it was great to hear. The trade is a roundabout way to get where they want to go. It's not as straightforward. Like there were some people asking me last night, well, are any of these guys going to help the team? And you're like, yeah, probably not that much. Like, I don't know if we're going to see them play that much. Like, they'll probably help a little bit here and there. They're asking, well, Middleton was an all-star, right? You're like, yeah, but I don't know. It's not what it's about. And they talked about what it's about. They talked about the reason why they did this trade. Matt Riccardi was asked, why do this now and not the offseason, which is a big question that a lot of people had. Like, well, just save Anthony Davis. His stock will go up in the offseason, which I didn't agree with. But Riccardi said, we evaluated everything. And we needed to know if now was the right time. And the deal we got, hit a certain threshold of what we wanted to do. They provided us the flexibility and optionality to build our team a certain way. And that's exactly what it was. We kept hearing all through the rumors about an Anthony Davis trade that there were deals out there, but none of them were palatable for them. And this was a deal that was palatable for them. You trade Anthony Davis, you get some expiring contracts for financial flexibility. You get a couple young players you get to try out, and you get 5 draft picks. None of them incredibly great draft picks, but you get them. You build that stockpile because they needed that flexibility and the optionality to build their team a certain way. The team that had been constructed with Cooper Flagg now was not sustainable and was not going to win a championship and was not going to, go to their goal, which they said is to win a championship. Like Finley said, give us a championship atmosphere. It wasn't doing that. They also said, like Finley said, we had the opportunity to give us the ultimate flexibility in the future to help us build a championship contender in the future. That's what it's all about. You weren't going to get one right now, and now you have the ultimate flexibility going forward in this. I also thought it was interesting that the Mavs, their front office era went from Nico, my word is gospel. Everybody get on board with what I say. And we saw him push out so many different people that had, words or had any kind of influence at all in front office decisions. To now we go completely the opposite direction, to where Matt Riccardi and Michael Finley are working in tandem, doing this press conference in tandem. And they were asked about how they split the duties. And Michael Finley said, hey, we did rock, scissors, paper, which I thought was funny. But Riccardi kind of explained it. He said, we split 30 teams. Everybody, everything we're connected on. We're one voice, even if we're on the phone with somebody else. They basically went 15 and 15. One of them called the other 115, one group of 15 teams. The other one called the other group of 15 teams. Which I thought was kind of hilarious. It's like, all right, yeah, that actually makes sense. And it's good that they were aligned on it. And we went from like one all powerful voice to like, hey, kind of more of like a group effort. And I think it helped in this. I think it helped in this trade. And now they're building around Flagg. And I think that's the next thing that really stood out to me. So coming up, let's talk about how they want to build around Cooper Flagg, the things that they said about Cooper Flagg, because I thought it was all really interesting, the things that they're trying to do. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by DoorDash. Ooh, man, after the trade deadline, you just want, now I just want to watch some games. I want to watch Cooper Flagg. I want to watch some of these guys. I want to watch other teams' games. The season is heating up, and with DoorDash, that's the best way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights or the tunnel fits or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes this entire season more fun. Every player has their bag, and with DoorDash, fans, you can have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared. You can't show up empty-handed, right? Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who is always at 2%. Think about that friend. Who is that friend always at 2%? Slightly's always charging his phone. Maybe he's him. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever you want. Whatever helps you get through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Also brought to you by Quo. You got your business, you got your people together, you got your team, and now it's time for a new system because you got to communicate smarter and better. There has to be a better way to do this. Do you find yourself asking yourself that question? There it is. Streamlining your communication is one of the quickest ways and quickest upgrades that you can make. Try Quo, Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications because your team is reachable, organized, and communicating all in one place. You're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. It's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated phone business system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to a growing team. Mavericks were a solo operator team, and now they are a growing team of GMs. A team of two, but still. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customers slip away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. Q-U-O, quo.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We have the Everydayers Club. Use the code MOVINGON at LockedOnMavericks.supercast.com. You get ad-free episodes of the show, access to the Discord, national bonus content, access to Locked On merch, all kinds of different things you can do with the Everydayers Club. So subscribe to that. Use the code MOVINGON, and you get a free month to try it out and see what it's like. One more thing. Talking about the Matt Riccardi and Michael Finley press conference, talking about the Mavs trade of Anthony Davis, and they looped in the Tyus Jones trade. So it ended up being a 3-team trade. And so we'll talk about that. They said some things about those new guys. And so we'll talk about those things. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is I was concerned going into this deadline. All right, they have co-interim GMs. How is that going to work? Are they even empowered to make moves? Like if they do nothing, I was going to be frustrated with this front office because you can't just move on from Nico and then do nothing and just continue to carry out his plan, his V word. It's probably not the best way I could have put that. But they were asked about it, and Matt Riccardi said, Patrick Dumont gave us the authority to track down all the trades and gave him the best possible moves to move forward. We gave him something that he found acceptable. And he said, you guys were incredibly meticulous and process-oriented. What a difference. Process-oriented, meticulous, instead of backdoor, sneaky, all right, I'm only going to talk to one team. I'm going to kind of present it to 2 other teams just to say that we did, but it's really only about one team and like Luka to this Lakers, like completely different approach on this star trade to the other star trade that happened before. And I thought that was an interesting thing. If we're talking about changes in tone and all that, and changes in approach, this is a very different change in approach. Building around Cooper Flagg was one of the big themes of this whole press conference. And one of the first, they talked glowingly about Cooper Flagg, which how could you not? Matt Riccardi said he's genuinely that person when it comes to being mature, and they have big expectations for him because he's just been an incredible human, like in taking his time after losses, signing jerseys for fans, like doing everything that they ask, all that, and just thought that was an interesting way to word it. And then he said Michael Finley was asked about guard play, and this is the first one where I was like, ooh, this is a big difference in how they're approaching basketball and how they're approaching the game on the court compared to the last regime too. Michael Finley said, teams that are the most successful have good guard play. Less pressure and the less stress and pressure we can put on Cooper Flagg offensively, the better. Get in with a guy who can actually make his job easier. And the last regime kind of like punted on guards. They're like, all right, we got Kyrie, and if that doesn't work, then I don't know. We'll try D'Angelo Russell on the, this biannual mid-level or whatever it ended up being. And you look across the league and you're like, who are the best teams in the NBA? Okay, in the Eastern Conference, Pistons, Cade Cunningham. Knicks, Jalen Brunson. Celtics, you got Peyton Pritchard, you got Derek White, you got Jaylen Brown doing a lot of guard things. Cavs, they had Garland and Mitchell, now they have Harden and Mitchell. You're like, okay, those Thunder, SGA, you got multiple guards who can set things up. Spurs, you've got they made a big thing made a big investment in De'Aaron Fox. Nuggets, Jamal Murray. Rockets is one where they're trying it sort of a different way, but you got Amin Thompson. Got Şengün doing some guard things. You got to have guards. Like you got to have a guard that can set things up, set the table for your team. And the last regime, like when Nico was in charge, just there was no emphasis on that because of how the team was put together. They also were asked about draft compensation, and this was another thing. It's like they were asked, with those things with those draft pieces that we got, it adds more tools in the toolbox. And so now we have the right piece. You have these tools to try and put the right pieces around Cooper Flagg because they said we have an unbelievable player in Cooper Flagg. It's all about building around him. It's all about having Cooper Flagg and building the right team around him. Matt Riccardi was asked about the type of players that they want to put around. Like they basically were asked, like, what was the skill set of people that are the right players around Cooper Flagg? And he was like, it's not really about skills. It's about toughness, high IQs, unselfish, hard-nosed defenders, care about team more than themselves. Those are the guys who win in the league. There's not a certain skill set that we're looking for. It's character attributes. And then was asked about Max Christie and Naji Marshall, and Riccardi said they perfectly fit that group of characteristics we talked about. They're Dallas Mavericks players, like Dallas Mavericks. Like that's what they want those guys to be. And that's historically what Dallas Mavericks have been. Toughness, high IQ, unselfish, hard-nosed defenders. And when you've brought in players that aren't those things, they get booted pretty quick and they don't last. And it's been on over multiple eras of Mavs basketball. Unselfish. Rondo, gone. Hard-nosed defenders. Like Christian Wood didn't work. Toughness. There's some examples of that too. Over multiple eras of Mavs basketball, the players that don't embody those things have not worked. They were also asked about the new players, and so I'll go through these. Matt Riccardi just went through all four of them, the ones that are bringing in, and had something to say about each of them, so I'll talk about him here. He said Tyus Jones is one of the most efficient point guards in the league. They can make everyone better. He's a good natural point guard, organizer, game manager, and he said different than any of the other guys we have on the roster. He's an extension of our coaching staff on the floor, and then he said this that I thought was really interesting. He said player development comes from being in the right spot on the floor. It's like, how can we develop players if they're all just guessing all the time, or they're all just not in the right spot, not executing the plays in the right way? Like, that's a really good point. And so they specifically targeted Tyus Jones, and the way that he was talking about it made me think, okay, they actually think that he could be part of the future for the next couple of years. Even though his contract is done at the end of this season, I think that they'll sign him back. Matt Riccardi also said this about Marvin Bagley. Marvin is playing really well for Washington and was excited to add another big. He has been playing pretty well. Marvin Bagley is a guy, he's only 26. That's somebody that I think the Mavericks could use going forward. If they don't bring back Dwight Powell, Marvin Bagley fits in that spot, the backup center spot, really well. Lively, Gafford, Marvin Bagley, that's a pretty good threesome of players right there. Bagley's averaging 10 points, about 7 boards for the Wizards in under 19 minutes, shooting 62% from the floor, so efficient. 71% from the free throw line, pretty good too. I mean, he was a really highly touted player, athletic, just a big guy that can get you some boards. He was obviously drafted before Luka, and we laugh about that. Marvin Bagley in a Mavs jersey is going to look so weird, but this is what it is. There's been rumors about Khris Middleton. Mark Stein has reported that Khris Middleton, they expect him to stay, and that was interesting to me because I thought he would be one of the ones that they waived to get a spot for Moussa Cisse or Ryan Nembhard. But Matt Riccardi said this about Khris Middleton. He said he's a consummate pro, won a championship, still playing minutes. His leadership is going to be good for the rest of these guys. That's kind of interesting. And then he was asked about AJ Johnson, who's the last guy that I'm kind of interested in here. He said he's a 21-year-old that has high upside, and I think our coaching staff development group will be able to bring out the best in him. And I think that's true. You look at what AJ Johnson has been through. He didn't go to college. He went overseas and played in the NBL when he pulled out of college late. Maybe got some bad advice there because he didn't play very much in the NBL in Australia at all. Then he gets drafted by the Bucks, 23rd overall pick in 2024. And then all of a sudden he's part of this trade, the Kyle Kuzma, Khris Middleton trade. Now he's been traded with Khris Middleton twice. I just realized that. He only played 7 games for the Bucks and didn't really play at all. Then he goes to the Wizards, plays 27 minutes a game in just 22 games for the rest of that season, starts 11 of them. And you're like, all right, so now he's just fed to the Wolves. And then he plays 25 games this year, only plays 8 minutes a game. So he's barely playing on this Wizards team that has so many young guys, it's impossible to develop all of them. And now he comes to this coaching staff where they don't have as many projects as other coaching staffs, like as the Wizards, or as they're not as like, all right, we've got to win right now mentality as the Bucks. And I think that is an interesting opportunity for AJ Johnson. He's a development guy. He's going to take a little while. He's incredibly athletic. He's 6'5". I think his shot looks pretty good, even though he's only shot 27% from 3 in his career. His assist to turnover ratio is 1.8 to 1 in his career, which is not great. But when he's played a little more, like in Washington, when he played those big minutes last season, it was 3.1 to 1.4. That's pretty good. And so I think that there's a lot of development there. Incredibly athletic guy, insane first step, and maybe some of the stuff they did with Brandon Williams, they can help AJ Johnson with. That's kind of the project player they got out of this, which I think is just an interesting stab at it. I don't expect a ton, but maybe they turn him into a good like backup point guard that can actually come in and be big and super bouncy. And like, how many times have the Mavs been able to throw a lob to a point guard like Dennis Smith Jr. and that's kind of it. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section if I'm missing one. Roddy B. They also had this to say about Kyrie, and this is the last thing I'll say here. Michael Finley was asked about Kyrie Irving and if there was any talk with Kyrie about this whole situation, about AD leaving, about AD getting traded and all that. He said, Kyrie is a consummate pro. Any young player would want Kyrie on their team. He has the ultimate respect for Cooper Flagg. He loves his work ethic and love for the game. He's embracing the mentor role for Cooper, and Cooper can learn a lot from Kyrie. And then he said, I think from a leadership standpoint, Kyrie is looking forward to that challenge. Kyrie has turned the page on his career, it seems like. He is, from all that we've heard, the report from Mark Spears, from Kyrie's agent, that he still wants to stay in Dallas. The Mavericks still want him there, want him to be the leader, want him to be the vet. Him and Klay Thompson have both kind of embraced this role. Like, hey, we're the old vets now. We used to be the young guys on these teams, Kyrie on the Cavs, Klay Thompson on this Warriors team with Durant and all them. Like, they used to be these young guys, but now they're the old vets. They're the old heads, and they're embracing this role of leadership and guys listening to them and all that. And I think that's amazing. The Mavs could use guys like this. The Wizards specifically targeted guys like Khris Middleton, CJ McCollum to try and bring in vets to just have a say on their team. Teams do this all the time. The Rockets targeted Jeff Green to come in. Like, if you can have one of those guys and both of them have won championships, if Kyrie wants to stay, you keep Kyrie. Incredible. I thought that was cool. There you go. There's some thoughts on the press conference. Let us know in the comment section what you think about the new direction the Mavericks have taken, what you think about the new players the Mavs have. We'll have more. We'll have a post-game show after the Spurs game tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom. Check the links in the description for different ways to follow the show. We have the text line. We also have the Everydayers Club, lockedonmavericks.supercast.com. Use that code MOVINGON to get ad-free episodes of this show and more on Locked on Mavs.